Hello everyone, welcome to the course Geotechnical Engineering 2. So in this module number 3 and lecture number 2, we will be discussing on the stability of slopes. Okay, so let us proceed into the lecture once again after looking at the course outline as well. Okay, so in the previous session, coming to the previous session, okay, we have understood what do we mean by a slope. Okay, so we have understood why we need the stability of slope analysis. Okay, and then apart from that, we have understood the factor of safety. In case of stability analysis, we have understood the factor of safety. What do we mean by factor of safety? So in that, we have understood factor of safety with respect to shear strength. With respect to shear strength. And then we have understood this factor of safety with respect to cohesion. Okay, and then we have understood the same factor of safety with respect to our friction. So after this, we have understood the different types of slope failures that generally occur in our practical case, embankments or any other slope structures. Okay, so that these are the types of slope failures. Okay, so the types of slope failures. So where we have discussed some of the failures: rotational failure, we have understood rotational failure, and then we have transitional failure, and then we have understood compound failure, later the wedge failure, and finally we have understood some other failure, that is miscellaneous failure. So this is what we have discussed in our previous lecture number 1. So in today's lecture, we will try to understand the stability analysis of a particular non-cohesive soil. Okay, say for example sand. So this is what we will try to learn in this particular lecture now. So in today's session, we will try to understand the stability of infinite slopes in case of cohesionless soils. So before that, what do we mean by stability? And in general, we have discussed in the first lecture that we understood that stability is certain aspect in case of any slope. Okay, but in this particular case, as we are dealing with an infinite slope, we need to understand that this stability will deal with the soil type which is either in dry state, or say in stage of saturated state, or any other steady seepage state. Okay, so we will look at all the three aspects based on this particular cases. Okay, the stability criteria of any soil will generally depend on, okay, generally depend upon whether the soil is in dry state, or in submerged state, as it is one of the partially or saturated state. Okay, since it is submerged state, that means it is fully saturated state only. And the last thing is the steady seepage state. Okay, so apart from all these, we will be considering any of these three states for our soil case. Okay, so for our understanding, we will try to derive a particular expression for factor of safety for all these three cases, that is the dry state, the submerged state, as well as the steady seepage state. So let me just clearly explain this in a detailed manner. Imagine this is a ground surface. Okay, this is a ground surface, and let us assume this is some embankment in this manner. So as we know, this is the slope surface. This is a slope surface, and this is another slope surface. Okay, and this is the embankment. This is the embankment. Okay, so in this aspect, this entire soil, if you say this is a homogeneous soil, okay, then it can either be in a dry state or submerged state, or say in case of steady seepage. Steady seepage state. So for these, any of these aspects, we need to understand the stability of this particular slope here. Okay, this is what we need to understand. So let us now look at more in detail about this, and we will find out the factor of safety for this particular case. Okay, so now let us try to understand this for the initial case. Let us say the homogeneous soil is in a dry state. Okay, so let us consider this is a soil mass, and let us assume that this surface is inclined at a slope angle of I. Okay, this is inclined at a slope angle of I. So for us, for our understanding, so let us consider a small wedge sort of arrangement. Let us say it is a prismatic form of soil. Let us denote this by A, B, C and D. Okay, let the width of this particular strip be B along the sloping side. Okay, and let H be the height of this particular soil, capital H be the particular height of this particular soil considered. So since this is inclined at a particular angle, so if I have to find out the horizontal distance of this particular wedge, okay, if I have to find out the horizontal distance of this particular wedge, so since it is inclined at an angle I, so obviously I can resolve this and state that this is B cos I. Okay, since this particular wedge is inclined at an angle I to the horizontal, if you resolve it, it is nothing but B cos I. Just by taking a dotted line here, let us say this is I. Since this is B, so its horizontal component will be B cos I. So that is what I have denoted here. So let me just write this once again here. Slope angle is I, what we have considered, and then the length of AB, the length of this AB is what we have considered as B. Okay, therefore the horizontal length okay, of this prism or wedge what we have considered will be B cos I. Okay, this is what we have considered, and then the height of this prism, height of prism is capital H. This is what we have considered. Okay, now so coming to this particular wedge form, okay, if you look at this particular wedge, so the volume of the wedge, the volume of wedge or prism A, B, C, D, which is per unit length, since this entire thing is a two-dimensional body, so I am writing here per unit length. Okay, then how can I simply write it is the height H multiplied by the horizontal distance, that is H into B cos I. It is H into B cos I. Let us assume that this particular soil is having a unit weight of gamma. It is having a unit weight of gamma. So if I have to consider the weight of prism, ABCD, okay, per unit length, per unit length, then it can be represented as, since the unit weight is weight by volume, simply from that weight is nothing but unit weight into volume. So this will be gamma into volume. So further simplifying it, I can simply write down it is gamma into H into B cos I. Okay, so this is the volume of the prism what we have considered here. Clear? So now let us try to understand this in more detail by resolving this particular components of the self weight. Let us say the self weight of this particular body is capital W, of the prismatic wedge what we have considered is capital W. So for our more detailed understanding and derivation purpose, let us consider the free body diagram of this particular prism. So I am considering a free body diagram here just for our understanding. Okay, so let this be A, B, C and D. So as I have stated, the horizontal width is nothing but B cos I. Okay, the horizontal distance is B cos I, and this is inclined at an angle of I. Okay, so for our more detailed understanding, let us say, let W be the weight of this particular wedge that is acting downwards. So for us to resolve these into components, before that let me just write the H value as well. Okay, so we need to resolve this particular wedge. So weight W is the self weight that is acting downwards. So if we have to resolve this along this particular plane, let me draw a dotted line here. So this is one particular dotted line, and let us say this is the another one. Okay, that means this is inclined at an angle 90 degrees to this particular line here. So resolving this particular weight W into two components, let us say this is a normal N which is acting. Don't mention here the directions of this particular thing. Just for our understanding, I am just assuming that it is in the opposite direction. So normal N is in the opposite direction which is resisting this, and let us say there is tangential force along this particular direction, that is capital T, at that particular point. Okay, so if I have to resolve this particular weight, so let me just draw the particular diagram once again here, just only at the sectional view. This is the wedge DC, and at this particular point let W be the capital W be the weight, and if I have to draw a dotted line perpendicular to DC, this will be the dotted line, and say this is the other one, extension of W. So since N, okay, forget about N and T, since this particular DC is inclined at an angle I to the horizontal, therefore this particular angle will be I. Okay, and the angle of W with respect to this other dotted line which is perpendicular to DC will be I. Okay, so from this diagram and this diagram, if you compare, simply I can state that the normal component N, the normal component capital N, can be equal to W which is inclined towards this I which is perpendicular to DC at an angle I. So this will be W cos I. And similarly the other one, the tangential force what I have represented here, okay, it will be T is equals to W sin I. Okay, simple by resolving of forces of weight W, it can be written as the normal force is W cos I and the tangential force is W sin I. So these are the force components which are acting for this particular weight. Okay, now let me represent it here. These are the components, force components, that is normal force N and tangential force T. So we need to obtain these in terms of our stress. Okay, so let us now try to understand, along with these force components, let us understand the normal stress as well as the shear stress. So stress components, or simply let us represent this as stress. So what is the normal stress? What is the normal stress? So normal stress is represented by sigma, and in this particular case it is nothing but my n by width b. Okay, it is n by b. And similarly the shear stress will be tau, which is equals to capital T by b. So we need to represent this w n here, and simply if I write down in this particular manner, then the normal stress sigma will be equal to n by b. N is nothing but w cos I, so I can write down w by b cos I. Okay, but we have already observed that what is w? W is gamma into h into b cos I by b into cos I. So simplifying, I can write down sigma as gamma h into cos square I, gamma h into cos square I, which I can write this as sigma. So apart from that, I can write down tau. Tau is the shear stress. So it is nothing but T by B. T is W sin I. So simplifying, I can write down this as W by B sin I. Since W is gamma HB cos I, so further simplifying, I can simply write down this as gamma H into sin I into cos I. So this is sigma as well as tau. Let us denote this as equation 1 and this as equation 2 for our more detailed understanding. Okay, so kindly make a note of this. Okay, so now we have understood that sigma is gamma h cos square I and tau is gamma h sin I into cos I. So we know that the shear stress along the plane CD, if you imagine the wedge what we have drawn along the wedge CD, if we assume that it is a failure plane, okay, that inclined plane is a failure plane, then what is happening? Some shear stress is resisted by the shear resistance. Okay, so if you say this is the shear stress that is applied, then we need to find out the shear resistance. Okay, so the shear strength in general, we know the shear strength is nothing but S is equals to C plus sigma bar tan phi. Okay, we know that the shear strength is S is equals to C plus sigma bar tan phi. Okay, as we know, the factor of safety is the shear strength by mobilized shear strength. So we have obtained the mobilized shear strength. We need to understand the shear strength. Okay, so for that I have taken the general equation, that is S is equals to C plus sigma tan phi. So in this particular case, since we are considering the cohesionless soil, okay, that means it is not having any cohesion. So that is why this term C is 0. Okay, this term C is 0. And apart from that, if you look at this sigma, since we are in the initial condition where we are considering the soil as a dry soil, so what is happening? There will be no pore water present in it. Since it is completely dry, there will be no pore water. That means there is no U term. So the effective stress will be equal to the total stress in this particular case. So simplifying, I can write down S is equals to simply sigma tan phi, since okay, sigma bar, that is the effective stress, is equals to sigma minus U, where pore water pressure is 0 since it is a dry soil. So considering this particular term, so we know that sigma is gamma h cos square I. So substituting this, we can obtain that S is equals to gamma h cos square I into tan phi. Okay, so this is what we have got S as. Okay, so coming to the factor of safety. So if you look at the factor of safety is nothing but shear strength to mobilized shear strength, or simply I can write down S by tau. Okay, so we know S is gamma h cos square I tan phi, and we know tau. Substituting these, 2 in this particular case. So it will be gamma h into cos square I into tan phi by, okay, gamma h into sin I into cos I. Okay, on further simplification, this gamma h and gamma h will get cancelled and cos I will be cancelled. So we will be left over with cos I into tan phi by sin phi, sin I. So further simplification, if you get this cos I in the denominator side, so this will be tan phi by tan I. Okay, so finally I can state that this factor of safety is simply tan phi by tan I. Okay, where I is the angle of the particular plane or slope and phi is the angle of internal resistance or shearing resistance. Okay, coming to the other part now. So if you look at this particular case here, okay, so when this particular say phi, okay, let us say this phi is greater than I in the initial case. Okay, let us say in the first case this phi is greater than I. So what will happen? This tan phi will be greater than tan I, so obviously the factor of safety will be greater than 1. So factor of safety will be greater than 1. So that means the soil which is there is actually stable. So that is what it is stating. The factor of safety greater than 1 means the soil is stable. So if you look at the other case here, let us say phi is equal to I. Phi is equal to I. So what will happen then? The factor of safety FOS will be equal to 1. That means it is just stable. Okay, so when the phi value is less than I, that means the numerator phi value is actually less than I. So that means now if phi is actually less than I, the third case, so this factor of safety will be 1, less than 1. So that means in this particular case the soil is not at all stable. In this particular case it is, or simply it is unstable. I can write down this as unstable. So when factor of safety is greater than 1, then it is completely stable, and it is when it is equal to 1 it is just stable, and if it is less than 1 it is completely unstable. So this is what we need to know in case of slope stability of an infinite slope in case of cohesionless soil. So this entire derivation is only for the particular case when the soil is in dry state. Okay, now let us now look at the other case, that is the submerged state case. Okay, coming to the second case now, that is submerged state. That means when the soil is submerged. So in this particular case we need to consider the effect of pore water pressure. Since in the entire voids there is water present, so we need to consider the effect of pore water pressure, and instead of sigma we have to consider the effective stress here. Instead of the total stress we have to consider the effective stress. This is what we need to consider here. If you look at sigma here, so since we got sigma as gamma h into b into cos square I, so since we need to consider the effect of pore water pressure, let us denote this by sigma bar, and since the soil is in submerged state, this gamma will be gamma dash. And if you look at the shear stress tau, okay, then this will be gamma dash hb into sin I into cos I. Okay, so this is what we have got. Just from the previous equation, the only term that is changing is gamma, since it is in submerged state. Unlike the previous case, it is in dry state, so we need to consider here the submerged state. Okay, so simplifying once again, we know that S, the shear strength, is equals to C plus sigma bar tan phi. Since the soil is cohesionless, this is 0. So substituting, we get this as gamma dash hb cos square I into tan phi. So this is what we have got in case of the shear strength. So simplifying this for the factor of safety FOS, which is S by tau. Okay, simplifying, we can just write down this as, since S is gamma dash HB cos square I tan phi divided by tau is gamma dash HB sin I into cos I. Okay, so if you look at this first three terms, that is gamma dash H and B, it is quite common, so it will get cancelled, and simplifying this will be again tan phi by tan I. This will be tan phi by tan I. So just like the previous case one, in case of dry state, when the soil is in dry state, even in case of when the soil is in submerged state, the factor of safety is tan phi by tan I. So irrespective of the type of soil and the flow condition, in this particular case, when there is no pore water present and when there is pore water present, so in this aspect we can clearly understand that the factor of safety is same. Okay, so it is independent of gamma, the height, as well as the width of this particular wedge what we have considered. So that is what we need to understand. So now let us try to understand more in detail when there is a flow condition. Imagine this is a normal case. If there is any flow of this particular water, because if you look at the reservoirs and the dam, there will be some seepage that is passing through this particular embankment that is present. So that is why let us consider the third case, that is the seepage case. So the third state is, let us say it is steady seepage. Okay, steady seepage state. So in this particular aspect, now let us try to draw the diagram once again. Imagine this is a particular sloping ground that is considered, okay, which is inclined at an angle of I. This is also inclined at an angle of I. Okay, so if you look at this particular diagram, let us consider a small wedge once again. Let this be A, B, C and D. Okay, so in this case, unlike the previous case, there is a steady seepage. Let us denote that there is seepage along this particular direction. Let us say this is seepage along this particular direction here. Let the height be H and the width be B in this particular case also. Okay, so again resolving this along the horizontal direction. So if I have to represent this in the horizontal direction, this will be B cos I. This will be B cos I. So now let us try to understand in the similar way. Let the weight be capital W of this particular prismatic wedge what we have considered, and in a similar way what we have done in the previous cases, let us say the normal force is along this particular direction and the tangential force is along this particular direction. Okay, so just from our previous case what we know, that N is nothing but W cos I and T is nothing but W sin I, just from the resolving of components what we have known. Okay, so let us represent the volume. Let us represent the volume of this particular prism ABC per unit length. Okay, per unit length. So as we know that the volume is simply H into B into cos I, H into B into cos I, and if you look at the weight of the prism per unit length, since we are considering a two-dimensional plane, I am representing this in per unit length. So this will be gamma into the volume, that is H into B into cos I. So the difference here, unlike the previous case, is that the soil, since there is steady seepage, the soil present in it is in some saturated state. So that is why we will represent this as gamma sat. Okay, that is why we will represent this as gamma sat into h into b into cos I. Okay, so that is the weight of this particular case. So now as we know that the components n and t, the normal component and the tangential component, if I have to write down n, then it will be w cos I. So simply I can write down gamma sat into h into b into w is cos I into cos I. So this will be cos square I. And the tangential component t can be written as gamma sat into h into b into sin I into cos I. So these are the two force components that we have resolved using the weight. Okay, so before that, since there is some pore water present, we need to understand the pore water pressure here. So if I have to represent the pore water pressure, let us say some capital U is the pore water component or the resistance. So I can write down, instead of gamma sat, it will be gamma W, since it is water, into h into b cos square I. Okay, if you look at this particular case here of normal component, along the normal direction of the particular wedge, if you take the pore water pressure component, this will be gamma W into h into b into cos square I. So this is the pore water pressure component along the normal direction. So if we need the normal force along the particular wedge, if I need the normal force, say let us represent this is n bar. Okay, if I need the normal force along this particular wedge DC, okay, considering the effect of pore water pressure, I can represent this as n bar is equals to n minus u. Since we know that effective stress, if you represent this in form of stress, sigma bar is equals to sigma minus u. In a similar way, if you represent the components, then it will be n bar equal to n minus u. So now let us try to obtain this value of n here. So this n bar will be, if I substitute the values of n and u from the above formulas whatever present here, simply it will be gamma sat into hb cos square I, okay, minus u is gamma w hb cos square I. So representing this will be gamma sat minus gamma w into hb cos square I. See, gamma sat minus gamma w is nothing but my gamma dash. So it is further simplified as gamma dash into hb cos square I. So this is my normal component here. So here I need to obtain the shear stress. So coming to the stress part, sigma bar will be n bar by b. So I can simplify from the above equation and write down this as gamma dash into h. Since b gets cancelled, this will be cos square I. And similarly tau is nothing but the tangential component by your width b. So it is t by b, as I have written t as gamma sat into h into b into cos I into sin I. From this I can simply write down this is gamma sat into h sin I into cos I, h sin I into cos I. So on further simplification, I can simply write down here that my shear strength S is equals to C plus sigma bar tan phi. Since it is a cohesionless soil, sigma is 0, and then if I represent the sigma bar value, then S will be gamma dash into h cos square I into tan phi. Okay, so S will be this one. So let us represent this by equation 2 and this tau as equation 1. Okay, let us now using these two equations find out the factor of safety. Okay, so as we know the factor of safety is nothing but the shear strength to the mobilized shear strength. So substituting these from equation 1 and 2 and simplifying, I can observe that this will be gamma dash h cos square I into tan phi by gamma saturated into h into sin I cos I. So on further simplification, this can be gamma dash since h gets cancelled by gamma sat multiplied by, if you see these terms as we have simplified earlier, this will be tan phi by cos gets cancelled, so this will be tan I. Okay, so finally for study seepage case, we can obtain the factor of safety as gamma dash by gamma sat into tan phi by tan I. So unlike the previous two cases, in case of a dry state as well as submerged state, in this particular case of steady seepage, we have observed that it is dependent on the unit weight of the soil. Okay, the submerged unit weight as well as the saturated unit weight of the soil. So that is the only difference apart from the previous two cases. This can be observed clearly. Okay, so that is regarding the entire stability analysis of infinite slope what we have considered. Okay, for the cohesionless soil which is in three different states, either a dry state or a submerged state or a steady seepage state. Okay, so that is what we have discussed in today's lecture. I hope you have understood very well. Thank you very much for this opportunity.